church, we're going to see what we call it hanging church, which is built above the ruins of that Roman fortress, right? So it's not built above the ground itself. That's why they call it hanging church. So why they call it hanging church? So it's not built above the ground, or the level of the ground itself. So it's built above the ruins of the Roman fortress. That's why they call it hanging church. And this is some towers of the Roman fortress, of the Roman fortifications. Shows how was this is called the Babylon fortress. Shows how was that fortification was, and to show you the base or even the ruins of that fortress, to show you how the church itself is built above this. Right, so it's built above this, so it's not built above the ground. That's why, we call it hanging church from the 4th century. It is probably the oldest one. We have it here in the district of Coptic Cairo. It looks like a brand new one, but because the Minister of Antiquities pays a lot of money for the renovation and the restoration. Let us go and see. Church. It is one of the oldest churches we have here in Egypt, in fact, from the 4th century. So even what we can say, 4th century, this is one of the oldest, or probably we can say the oldest churches we have here in Egypt, the hanging. Why they call it hanging church? Because it's built above the ruins of that Roman fortress, so it's not built above the ground itself. That's why they call it hanging church. When we talk about the dimension of the church itself, it's about 23.5 meter length, 18.5 meter large, and 9.5 meter height. So the height of the church itself. This is maximum. Those two towers was not when they built the church itself, was not those two towers here, in fact, but it is approximately 100 years. They built it by 100 years. It looks like a brand new one because, as I said, the Minister of Antiquities paid a lot of money for the restoration itself. Someone called Fansly, who came over from France up to Egypt, he mentioned in his book that Amr ibn al-As, who was the first Muslim leader, came over to Egypt, ordered his soldiers not to hurt or to damage any block from all the churches we have at that district of all the Cairo. That is why I think you see the relationship between the Muslim people now in Egypt and also the Christians in Egypt. Egyptian Christians, we call them Coptics. Right, so it's Coptics. It's a word which is given to the Egyptian Christians, no any Christian else. So when you mention Coptic, so Coptics means Egyptian by the Coptic language, so means Egyptian. So Coptics, this is when you mention Coptics, so you mention the Egyptian Christians, no other Christians else. In fact, we have about 110 icons inside. 110 icons inside, very old icons. The most famous one inside, what we call it, the Egyptian Mona Lisa. The Mona Lisa of Italy. So Egyptian Mona Lisa is here. Why? Because the Virgin Mary carrying her son Jesus. Right. So when you look to that picture itself, you feel it looks to you, right, from the whole sides, from the front or from the both sides. So we call it Egyptian Mona Lisa. In fact, also, this is built about 17 meters higher from the level of the ground itself. So it's built above the ruins of the Roman fortress. This is what we're going to see. We're going to see inside. We have also some old pictures shows every president of Egypt, from even the royal family, from the last king who was the King Fuad, came over to that church. King Farouk, his son, came over to that church. And then when the system has been changed from the royal system up to the system of presidency, all presidents came over to Egypt. Nasser came over to here, Sadat came over to here, or even met the Pope of Alexandria. Pope of Alexandria, because Alexandria was, what they control, from Alexandria. Now I think here in Egypt. This also was patriarch of Egypt, so they used this place as a place for the Patriarch of Egypt, for a very long time, till 14th century. So just imagine from the 4th century up to 14th century, it was here, right, the place of the Patriarch. Now I'm going to let you see also how that's all pictures, and you're going to see the design from inside. We know that the Virgin Mary, the Holy Family, when they came over from Palestine, passing by the land of Sinai, right? And they already reached to here, to the district called the Cairo. They went to El Matareya, what we have the Virgin Mary tree there in El Matareya. They already went to everywhere. Everywhere the Holy Family went there, so you can find a monastery or you find a convent there. You can find a church. In fact, till they reached to Fila. Fila, this is in Aswan, which is supposed to be the southern borders of Egypt with Sudan, right? Even they reach it up there, right? So especially when you get inside to the temple, where you're going to find the crosses of the Christians, all the crosses there, because as I said, the new faith, the new religion makes them completely blind, so that they didn't even see the heritage or the culture or whatever because of the new religion of the Christianity. Now, I'm going to let you. This is the church which is built without domes, no domes for the church, right? And also they use for the construction of the church itself some wood of that palm trees. Let us go and see.
All the history of the Egyptian church, and North Africa church hold the history is one of the Egyptian church. Most of them, they are separate. Russian church is separate long time. It's not the language already. But still, the Orthodox Egyptian church
The Holy Journey in Egypt. This is supposed to be the whole land of Egypt, right? On the map of Egypt. This part of Sinai, which has been occupied by the Israeli troops 1967, and dropped later, 6 years later, 6th October War 1973, and through the negotiation of peace happened between Egypt and Israel by the help of President Jimmy Carter, President of the United States of America, but he helped Egypt a lot to get that piece of land back. So now Sinai belongs to Egypt. Right? So Egypt now, this part lies in Africa, and this part of Egypt lies in Asia. So Egypt lies in Africa and Asia. Right? Okay. The borders with Jordan, Israel, and Palestinians, right? So when the Holy Family came over from Jerusalem, right? Escaping from Herodos, passed by the land of Sinai, all that green points shows you, right? How, right, they moved from a city to another till they reached to the district of Old Cairo. This is the place where we are there. Here, this is Old Egypt or Old Cairo. El Matareya, what we have the Virgin Mary tree there. Wadi al-Natron, what we have a monastery of Wadi al-Natron, very big monastery, big convent there. Here, in the middle of Egypt, what you can find the biggest number of the Christians, what you can find here in the middle of Egypt. Even they till they reach to Aswan, to Fila, on the border of Sudan. That green point shows you the most impressive, important place where you can visit here. Is that place we're going to visit later, what we call it Sergius or Abi Serga Church, right? What is the Holy Family hiding themselves in a cave under the church itself. This is the most impressive place for the whole Christians from everywhere over the world. They want to see the place where the Holy Family, when they came over to Egypt and hid themselves in a cave under the church of Sergius, right? But for how long they stayed, we don't know for how long, but they stayed in that cave couple of days, couple of weeks, couple of months. But all what we know, the whole period that the Holy Family, when they came over, they stayed about 3 years in Egypt. 3 years.
Yes, not saying, yes,